Picture this. You're lying on a wooden table in a dark room beneath the Committee of Public Safety headquarters. Your jaw is shattered. Half your face is gone. Blood pools beneath your head. Every breath sends shards of broken teeth into your throat. You can't speak, can't scream, can't defend yourself. And outside, the entire city of Paris is preparing to watch you die. The year is July 27, 1794. You're Maximilien Robespierre, the architect of the terror. For 2 years, you've sent thousands to the guillotine with a signature. Nobles, priests, commoners, friends who questioned you, allies who hesitated. Now it's your turn. But here's what history doesn't tell you. They didn't just execute Robespierre. They broke him first, methodically, publicly, with a cruelty designed to erase the legend of the Incorruptible. What happened in his final 24 hours wasn't justice. It was revenge theater. If you believe the documented accounts of history's most dramatic downfalls deserve to be remembered, consider subscribing. Your support helps us uncover the moments when power collapses and monsters face their own machinery. Let me show you what really happened in Robespierre's last day alive. July 27, 1794. 11 p.m. The Hall Liberty. Robespierre stands at the podium in the convention. He's just delivered a speech accusing unnamed enemies of conspiracy. He expects applause, denunciations, arrests. Instead, silence. Then a voice from the benches. Name them. Another. Who are these conspirators? Robespierre hesitates. Fatal mistake. For 2 years, his power has rested on one principle: ambiguity. When everyone might be guilty, everyone stays terrified. But the deputies have finally realized something. If Robespierre won't name his enemies, maybe he has none. Maybe he's bluffing. Maybe the Incorruptible is just a man with a list of accusations and no evidence. Someone shouts for his arrest. The chamber erupts. Think about what this moment means. For 2 years, these men have sat frozen while Robespierre condemned their colleagues. They've watched friends dragged from these benches to the guillotine. They've stayed silent because speaking meant dying. But now, the spell is broken. Deputy Tallien stands. He's been waiting for this moment. His lover, Teresa Cabarrus, is in prison awaiting execution on Robespierre's orders. He has nothing left to lose. I demand the arrest of Robespierre. The vote happens fast, too fast for Robespierre to process. By midnight, he's declared an outlaw. Here's what that means in revolutionary France. Outlaws have no legal protection. They can be executed without trial. Their property is confiscated. Their families are investigated. Their names are erased from history. Robespierre is no longer a deputy. He's a target. The National Guard is sent to arrest him. But Robespierre has allies. The Paris Commune, the radical city government, refuses to obey the convention. They summon their own armed forces. They call Robespierre to the Hôtel de Ville, the city hall, where he'll be protected. For a few hours, it looks like civil war. July 28, 1794, 1 a.m. The Hôtel de Ville. Robespierre sits in a room on the second floor. Around him, his core supporters. Saint-Just Couthon, Augustin Robespierre, his younger brother. Philippe Lebas. These are the men who built the terror. The Committee of Public Safety. The Revolutionary Tribunal. The machinery that killed 17,000 people in 18 months. Now, they're trapped. Outside, two forces are converging: the Convention's National Guard and the Commune's militia. But here's the problem. The Commune soldiers are hesitating. They're being asked to fight fellow revolutionaries to protect a man who's just been declared an outlaw. It's a hard sell. Inside the Hôtel de Ville, panic sets in. Saint-Just, normally ice-cold, paces. Couthon, paralyzed from the waist down, sits in his wheelchair staring at maps. Augustin Robespierre clutches a pistol, and Maximilien Robespierre, The Incorruptible, the man who never showed fear, sits frozen. He can't decide. Flee, fight, surrender. For 2 years, he's made decisions that killed thousands. Now, facing his own death, he's paralyzed. Philippe Lebas makes his decision first. At 2 a.m., he stands, walks to a corner of the room, places a pistol to his temple, and fires. The shot echoes through the building. Lebas collapses, dead instantly. Think about what this does psychologically. Robespierre has just watched his closest ally, his friend since childhood, blow his brains out rather than face capture. The message is clear. There's no way out. The room fills with smoke. Blood pools across the floor, and now everyone knows the ending. At 2:30 a.m., the convention's forces break through the Hôtel de Ville's outer defenses. The Commune's militia scatters. They're not willing to die for Robespierre. Not anymore. Soldiers storm the building. Augustin Robespierre hears them coming. He runs to a window, looks down at the courtyard 3 stories below, and jumps. He doesn't die. He lands badly, shattering both legs and his pelvis. He lies in the courtyard screaming. Couthon tries to flee, but he's paralyzed. Someone, it's unclear who, possibly a soldier, possibly one of his own aides, throws him down a staircase. His wheelchair tumbles after him. He lands in a heap, skull fractured, bones broken. Saint Just stands perfectly still. He doesn't resist, doesn't run. When soldiers enter, he holds out his wrists for binding. I am ready. And Robespierre? He's sitting at the table, pen in hand, trying to write something. A speech? A letter? A defense? He never finishes. A soldier named Charles-André Murda bursts into the room, pistol drawn. Surrender or die. Robespierre looks up. Here's where the historical record splits into competing versions. Some say Murda shot Robespierre in the jaw intentionally. Others say Robespierre grabbed a pistol and tried to shoot himself, but his hand shook so badly he only managed to shatter his own jaw. The medical evidence supports the second version. The bullet entered below his left cheekbone, traveling upward at an angle consistent with a self-inflicted wound from a shaking hand. Either way, the result is the same. Robespierre's jaw explodes. Teeth, bone fragments, blood. His lower face is gone. He collapses, choking on his own shattered mouth. He doesn't die. The bullet missed his brain. Soldiers drag him downstairs. Blood pours from his face, leaving a trail across the floors of the Hôtel de Ville. In the courtyard, they drop him next to his brother Augustin, who's still screaming from his shattered legs. Dawn is breaking. July 28th, 1794. Here's where Robespierre's real torture begins. 3 a.m. The Committee of Public Safety Headquarters. Robespierre is thrown onto a wooden table in an antechamber. Not a hospital, not a cell. A storage room. There's no doctor, no bandages, no pain relief. His jaw is hanging by threads of muscle. His tongue is visible through the hole in his cheek. Blood soaks his famous blue coat, the one he always wore to the convention. And the soldiers? They don't help him. They watch. Think about the symbolism. This is the man who sent Marie Antoinette to the scaffold, who condemned Danton, his former friend, who built the law of 22 Prairial, which allowed executions without evidence. Now he's lying in his own blood, unable to speak, unable to defend himself, waiting to die. The irony isn't lost on anyone. At 5 a.m., a surgeon named Pierre-Joseph Dassault is summoned. Not to save Robespierre, to make him presentable enough to execute. Dassault later described what he found. The jaw was shattered on the left side. Several teeth were gone. The tongue protruded through the wound. He was conscious but unable to speak. Dassault does the bare minimum. He removes bone fragments. He wraps Robespierre's head in a rough bandage. No anesthetic, no sutures. Robespierre's eyes stay open the entire time. When Dassault finishes, he leaves. Robespierre is returned to the table. For the next 16 hours he lies there. Here's what makes this especially sinister. They're keeping him alive on purpose. Revolutionary law requires that outlaws be publicly identified before execution. Robespierre needs to be conscious, recognizable, and mobile enough to stand trial, even if that trial lasts 30 seconds. So they let him suffer, awake, in agony, watching the clock. 8 a.m. watching the clock. The room starts filling with people. Not friends, not supporters, spectators. Word has spread through Paris. Robespierre is broken. The Incorruptible is lying in his own blood. People want to see. Deputies who voted for his arrest come to gawk. Citizens who lost family to the guillotine come to spit on him. Former allies come to ensure he's really finished. One witness, Deputy Courtois, later wrote, "He lay on the table like a broken statue. His eyes followed us, but he could make no sound except a wet gurgling." Another deputy approaches, looks down at Robespierre and says loudly, "Yes, Robespierre, there is a God." It's a reference to Robespierre's festival of the Supreme Being, his attempt to create a state religion. The mockery is deliberate. Robespierre's eyes flicker, but he can't respond, can't defend, can't speak. His power was always his words. Now his jaw is shattered. By noon, over 100 people have cycled through the room to see him. At 2 p.m., orders arrive. Robespierre and his allies are to be taken to the conciergerie prison for formal identification. He's dragged upright. His legs barely hold him. Blood has soaked through the bandages, dripping onto the floor. They parade him through the streets. Think about this moment. For 2 years, Robespierre traveled through Paris in a carriage, protected by guards, cheered by supporters who called him the Incorruptible, the savior of the Republic. Now he's being dragged through those same streets, face destroyed, surrounded by soldiers, while crowds gather to scream at him. Tyrant! Butcher! Rot in hell! Women throw garbage. Men spit. Children are held up to see the monster who killed their fathers. Robespierre keeps his eyes down. Blood drips from his chin. The journey to the concierge takes 20 minutes. It feels like hours. At the prison, he's thrown into a cell, not alone, with the other captured Robespierrists. Saint-Just, still composed, sits silently in a corner. Couthon, skull fractured, lies on the floor moaning. Augustin Robespierre, legs shattered, screams every time someone moves near him. And Maximilien Robespierre sits against the wall, holding his shattered jaw with one hand, waiting. At 4 p.m., the Revolutionary Tribunal arrives for identification. This is the same tribunal Robespierre created, the same judges he appointed, the same system he used to condemn thousands without defense. Now it's his turn. The Chief Judge Jacques-Bernard Marie Montanet reads the charges: conspiracy against the Republic, tyranny, outlawry. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Robespierre tries to speak. Blood bubbles from the wound. A wet, choking sound emerges. No words. The judge nods. Identification confirmed. Execution tomorrow at sunset. That's it. 30 seconds. No trial. No defense. No evidence. The exact system Robespierre built. Here's the thing that should keep you awake at night. Robespierre designed this process. The law of 22 Prairial, passed 2 months earlier, eliminated the right to defense counsel, eliminated witness testimony, eliminated delays. Accusation plus identification equals execution. He built the machine that's now killing him. 6 p.m. The cell. Night falls. Robespierre sits in darkness. His jaw throbs. He can't eat, can't drink. The bandages are soaked through. Around him, his allies are breaking down. Couthon weeps quietly. Augustin screams himself hoarse, then falls silent from exhaustion. Saint-Just stares at the wall. And Robespierre, he doesn't sleep. One witness, a guard named François Henriot, not related to the executed general, later testified, "I watched him through the night. He never closed his eyes. He sat against the wall, holding his face, rocking slightly. Sometimes his shoulders shook like he was crying, but no sound came out. Think about what's going through his mind. 24 hours ago, he was the most powerful man in France. He controlled the Committee of Public Safety. He decided who lived and died. He was building a republic of virtue. Now he's sitting in a cell, face destroyed, waiting to be executed by the machinery he created. And he can't even speak to defend himself. July 28th, 1794, 5 p.m. The tumbrils arrive. These are the carts used to transport condemned prisoners to the guillotine. Robespierre has watched hundreds of enemies loaded into these carts. Now it's his turn. He's dragged from the cell. His legs give out. Guards haul him upright and throw him into the cart. 22 Robespierrists are executed that day. They're loaded into 3 tumbrils. Robespierre is placed in the first cart, positioned at the front. Maximum visibility. The route to the Place de la Révolution, where the guillotine stands, takes 40 minutes. The streets are packed. Thousands of Parisians line the route. This is the biggest crowd since the execution of King Louis XVI 18 months earlier. But the mood is different. When Louis died, the crowd was solemn, uncertain. Today they're celebrating. Death to the tyrant. The guillotine awaits. Look at him now. Someone throws a bucket of blood, animal blood from a butcher shop, onto the cart. It splashes across Robespierre's chest. A woman climbs onto the cart's wheel, gets close enough to scream directly into his ruined face. "Your death brings me joy, you monster. Go to hell and take your brothers with you." Guards pull her off. The cart keeps moving. Robespierre stares straight ahead. Blood and filth cover him. The bandage has come loose, exposing the shattered jaw. Every jolt of the cart sends fresh pain through his face. 6 o'clock p.m. The Place de la Révolution. The guillotine stands in the center of the square. The same guillotine that executed Marie Antoinette, Danton, Hebert, thousands of others. The blade is freshly sharpened. The basket is empty. The mechanism is ready. The executioner, Charles-Henri Sanson, waits at the scaffold. This is the same executioner who's been killing Robespierre's enemies for 2 years. He knows exactly who he's executing today. The first prisoners are unloaded. One by one, they're walked up the scaffold steps. The crowd counts each execution, cheering, applauding. By the time they reach number 21, the sun is setting. Now it's Robespierre's turn. Guards drag him from the cart. He can barely stand and they half carry him up the 13 steps to the platform. The crowd goes wild. Sanson, the executioner, later described what happened next in his memoirs. When Robespierre was placed on the board, I removed the bandage from his jaw as required for proper positioning of the head. The moment I pulled it away, his shattered jaw fell completely open. He screamed the only sound I heard him make, a horrible, wet, gurgling scream. Think about that. For 18 hours, the bandage has been holding his jaw in place. The moment it's removed, the full weight of the shattered bone pulls the wound open. Maximum pain, right before death. The crowd hears the scream. They cheer louder. Sanson straps Robespierre to the board. Face down. Neck positioned in the lunette, the half-circle that holds the head in place. The blade is released. It takes less than a second. Robespierre's head drops into the basket. Sanson lifts it, as tradition requires, to show the crowd. Even severed, Robespierre's eyes are still open. The crowd erupts in the loudest cheer anyone can remember. That night, Robespierre's body is taken to the cemetery in an unmarked cart. He's buried in a mass grave with the other executed Robespierrists. No marker, no ceremony, no record of the exact location. The goal is erasure, complete and total. Within days, his name is removed from public documents. His apartment is raided, his papers burned, his allies are hunted down and executed. The terror is over. But here's what haunts me about this story. Robespierre believed he was building a better world. He genuinely thought the terror was necessary to purify France. He saw himself as incorruptible, selfless, dedicated to virtue. And maybe he was, at first. But here's the thing about revolutionary violence. It doesn't care about intentions. The machinery Robespierre built to eliminate enemies became the machinery that eliminated him. The laws he wrote to streamline executions streamlined his own. The tribunal he created to deny defenses denied him defense. He built a system so efficient at killing that when it turned on him, there was nothing he could do to stop it. His final 24 hours weren't just revenge. They were proof that terror, once unleashed, devours everyone, even especially its architects. The crowd that cheered his execution was the same crowd that cheered his speeches 2 years earlier. The executioner who killed him was the same executioner who'd followed his orders for months. The tribunal that condemned him was his own creation. Robespierre didn't just die. He was killed by his own system. And before he died, he suffered in exactly the way his victims had suffered. Publicly, helplessly, without defense, without mercy. The revolution ate its children, and Robespierre was the meal it had been waiting for. Here's the question we have to confront. What does it say about power that the man who wielded it most absolutely died most helplessly? Robespierre spent 2 years controlling life and death with a signature. In his final day, he couldn't even control his own voice. He built a machine to eliminate impurity. The machine decided he was impure. He believed in revolutionary justice. Revolutionary justice gave him 30 seconds. He trusted the Republic. The Republic tore out his jaw and paraded him through Paris. This isn't just history. It's a blueprint. Every authoritarian who builds a system to eliminate enemies eventually discovers that systems don't care who they eliminate. Robespierre's final hours were worse than death because they forced him to experience, minute by minute, the horror he'd inflicted on thousands of others. And like his victims, he understood exactly what was happening and couldn't speak a word to stop it. If this revealed a side of the French Revolution you've never seen before, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're uncovering the moments when terror collapses on itself. Drop a comment with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next investigation.